Hey everyone, it's Goji Guy from Control All Monsters, and today I'm here to talk about a beginner's guide 1cc to Akai Katana Shin. So, I actually picked this game up earlier in the summer, and I was kind of just playing it casually on and off, and over the past couple weeks I decided to get a little more serious about it, grind out some runs, and go for the 1 credit clear. So I think in total it took me a longer than expected. I think it was 25 or 30 hours total. But a lot of that was just me kind of learning the game and learning its ins and outs and having fun experimenting. I think that you could probably get your first clear in this game a lot quicker than I did. So yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about this mode in particular. So Akai Katana, if you buy the new release from City Connection, or if you have the 360 release, or really any of those, it's going to come with a few different modes, a few different ranges. And this is the Shin, or I believe it's called Slash version on the 360. So this is an arrange mode that is different from the main game. It's probably a little tougher than the original game because you're kind of forced to dodge through more stuff. You don't have as much invincibility and bullet kind of canceling stuff. But it's the one that I grew really attached to. I started playing it and it's a lot of fun. It's got these really crazy bullet cancels and explosions and tons of gold spraying out everywhere. It just makes my brain feel good. So it was the one I decided I was going to clear. So the controls for the game are pretty straightforward. There is a rapid shot, there is a normal shot that you can hold for a focus. You've got the phantom form change button, and then you've got your bomb. And you'll notice I've got a option following my ship. So this is the Type A ship. It's the ship I would recommend for a beginner. It's a little simpler to control. And the way that option works is that it sort of mimics your movement, but it's not quite as straightforward as that. It almost like doubles its speed based on your movement, so you can really quickly and simply flip it over to the other side of you. If you've played something like Death Smiles before, you'll probably be pretty comfortable with this. It's certainly a lot easier to control than Rolling Gunner. Now, your rapid shot is your main shot. Your speed is normal while you're using it, but it does less damage than your focus shot, which slows you down. You can see that here. And the focus shot has the added benefit not just of doing more damage and slowing you down, but you'll see it's generating those green orbs. That's energy. Meanwhile, your rapid shot generates these blue orbs. That's steel. So those are the two main currencies that you're working with in this game. And you can see at the top of the screen next to your health, there's a green bar. That's your energy bar. Circling the ship, those orbs, that'll show how much steel you have. So when you transform, like I just did there using the form change button, your steel will appear in front of you, and then using the focus shot button will send it flying off. And anything it touches, it'll kind of bounce off of and turn into katanas. You can see I've got these katanas surrounding me. When I change back into ship mode from phantom mode, those katanas fire off and they deal a ton of damage, and they also generate a ton of gold, lots of points. So that's kind of the core of this game, is that interplay between the phantom ship mode and the regular mode. So when you have any amount of steel and you enter phantom mode, it'll appear in front of you, and then you can fire it off and turn it into katanas. And if you stay in phantom mode, you can generate more steel by using your rapid shot and then fire it off and turn it into katanas, or you can just use your focus shot, which will basically over time automatically turn into katanas. The other thing about using the focus shot in phantom mode is that it will generate suicide bullets from any enemies you destroy, so you got to be careful of that. But those bullets can be really useful to cancel with your katanas, and and, you know, get some more points. And that's kind of the main focus here, is especially for scoring, you want to be using these katanas to generate as much gold as possible and collect it. Gold is also, you know, these gold pieces, you'll see they start out big and they kind of shrink over time. You want to get them when they're at their biggest. That's when they're worth the most points. But this is also really important for survival, because that katana attack just cuts through bullets and cuts through enemies. And when you have steel and you fire it off using your phantom mode, that also cancels bullets. So you can actually use those as survival tactics. But you also do want to learn some of the scoring for this game, because I just got the first extend on that results screen, and there's another extend that I'll be getting later, and those are really useful, obviously, for survival. But yeah, this phantom katana mode is really useful for survival, because you can use it to get out of sticky situations and take out really powerful enemies. And you'll see a good example of this here. So right now I've almost got full, I do have full energy, I've almost got full steel. And I think I'm just gonna try to get full steel here. There we go. And I'm gonna use that to take out this guy, which should generate a ton of gold for me. And so I chase that so that I can make sure to get those pieces of gold when they're at their biggest. And this isn't even like advanced scoring stuff. I mean, scoring in this game is incredibly fun. And I really think that even if you're trying to play for survival, you should learn scoring, because it'll help you get those extends, and it's also just really satisfying. It's kind of where the depth and meat of the game really lies. Now, I should also mention, while you are in phantom mode, you can get hit. And what'll happen is, instead of losing one of your bars of life, you'll actually just lose some of your green energy, which is fine. If you lose enough that it you know, empties the bar, then yeah, you'll turn back to ship mode. Otherwise, you'll just kind of take a hit and lose some energy. So you can also use this mode as a survival tool. There we go. So yeah, those are the kind of huge cancels that are really fun to do in this game. It's not even really a cancel. I mean, you're just slicing through enemies. And another thing that's really forgiving about this game and nice for beginners is that if you die, if you lose one of those health bars up there, it'll increase the length of your energy bar, so you can stay in phantom mode longer, so you can stay invulnerable longer. So, you know, missing in this game isn't a huge deal, and in fact, sometimes it can be kind of helpful, especially on certain bosses that have really long, difficult patterns that you need to cut through. That first pattern there, you really do want to focus shot and power through it, otherwise it can be kind of tricky to dodge. Yeah, and one other thing I should mention as well in terms of your health is that if you get hit by a bullet when you're in chip mode, it will just take out one of those bars, as you would expect. But if you're in, if it's a laser like these lasers here, it will hit you and it'll deal damage, but it won't destroy the bars. You can see it'll actually convert some of that yellow health into red health, and it won't kill you. It'll kill you over time. It deals basically a damage over time. But what it also does is it generates a ton of green energy. So you can kind of take advantage of that and basically trade some of your health for green energy, which is a little bit risky, but generally worth it. And you can actually heal that health back just by getting an extend. It'll heal you to full. But you just got to be careful because there are times where I'm in previous runs where I really abused that that laser trick and ended up just eating it. So there's my first bomb. That's part of the reason it took me so long to actually clear this game, is because I just wasn't bombing, which is classic shmup BS. But also the phantom system, the katana system, all that stuff, it kind of feels like a bomb. So sometimes I would just try to instinctively do that instead of bombing. And no, the bombs are useful. They don't deal a lot of damage, but they will just clear the screen and allow you to reset. Now this stage here, stage 4, is probably the first stage that I found to be pretty tricky, that I needed to really think about my routing. Mostly that involved figuring out when I would be using phantom mode and how. Things like this, aren't too difficult. Once you figure them out, you just have to execute on them every time. But once we get on land, things get a little more hectic. So if I was playing this for score, I mean, you wouldn't want to keep a stack of energy and steel like this, but I'm being pretty conscious about when and where I use it. And you also don't need to have a full bar of energy to use it. You can use it for any amount. Even if you just have a little bit of green energy, you can pop that off. And that can be really useful, because I found that the most useful part for dealing damage and for getting points is actually the katanas. So you don't need to stay in phantom mode that long. But here I am going to, and I'm going to show you something else, which is when you're using rapid shot, you're going to generate steel that hangs out in front of your ship. So you'll see those blue orbs hanging out in front of your phantom. And when you use the focus shot, it's going to fire those off. And that also deletes bullets. It cancels bullets. So it's really useful to just kind of constantly clear a path for you to cut through. So there's a lot of bullets in this stage. And there's a lot of aimed bullets. So you can see as well, there's the suicide bullets that generate from using the focus shot while you're in phantom mode. Now I should also mention, this probably all sounds pretty complicated. If you haven't played Akai Katana before, you're probably thinking, what the heck? There's different modes, there's steel, there's energy, there's, I gotta enter a mode and then do something and then exit a mode to actually fire off the katanas, because that's how you fire them off, is you exit phantom mode. But I don't think you should be too intimidated by that stuff. If you just play the game, eventually you will pick up on most of these systems, and then you can just revisit this video or read online and figure out if there's something you don't understand. It's going to be explained somewhere. Oh, and if you destroy an enemy while they have lasers out, they will convert either into steel or energy, depending on which button you're pressing. So really the important thing with this boss is keeping in mind those blue bullets coming from the turrets, and then using your phantom mode and using those katanas to kind of shield yourself from all those bullets coming in. Now, if you defeat a boss with a big katana attack, it will generate a ton of gold. But it's got to be the thing that lands the killing blow. Yeah, here's another example of a pattern that is kind of tricky. So I go into phantom mode, and it actually slows it down. That's another thing that phantom mode does. It slows down bullets. And I'm going to use these lasers to transform into phantom mode again, just to deal the killing blow. Also generates a bunch of gold. If you kill something with lasers out while you're in phantom mode, I guess it generates gold instead of energy or steel. So we're getting pretty close to the next extend. So we're in pretty good shape here, heading into stage 5. Also a pretty tricky stage that took a lot of routing and practice, because there's a lot of these big turrets like that one that are just spewing away bullets. You really need to prioritize those targets and take them out as quickly as possible so that they don't just fill the screen. So there's another one here, and I'm going to use my focus shot just to keep it going. You'll notice I'll do my focus shot and then I'll switch over to rapid just to reposition my option and then go back to focus shot, and that's a really useful tactic. Again, it's something that's a little tricky at first, but once you get used to it, you can do a lot with this option. It controls actually really, really nicely. Again, using the katanas to take out that mini boss. And then this stage likes to scroll in multiple directions. So we're going to be going up, we're going to be going right, we're going to be going down, we're going to be going all sorts of directions. And it's important that you keep in mind what you'll be moving into. So there's a bunch of turrets here, and it's important to use your focus shot like this to take them out before they start spraying, because they can be pretty annoying. And I think you'll see I'm gonna miss one and it starts spraying at me. And yeah, this one here. So that one up in the corner, I just had to bomb. Better safe than sorry. Plus, I always find if I use all my bombs, then I just tend to perform better. Like if I have to dodge, then I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna make it happen. So there we go. I'm already back. I'm at full stock everything. So I'm gonna need to use this here on a section that just has some massive tanks and turrets that I gotta cut through. So I cut through that first round, and then I'm gonna hit them both with the same katana volley. And then there's more over here, so now this is an example of taking advantage of the fact that this is an isometric game. There are enemies that you don't collide with, because like Pro Gear, this is kind of the spiritual successor to Pro Gear, you can see the ground even though it's a horizontal shmup. You can actually see the ground, so there are enemies that are on the ground, like tanks and turrets, that you can fly over without getting hit. And you got to take advantage of that as well. Here we are scrolling down. These ships can be pretty annoying, these big battleships, or airships, or whatever you'd call them. So now going into this boss, I just want to have a full stack. I want to have as much steel, or is it iron? Whatever kind of metal it is. Must be steel. I want to have as much steel and as much energy as I possibly can. And then I want to get through this, the first stages of the boss, and use my resources at a key moment. The first stages of the boss here aren't too bad. You can generally just kind of stay in focus mode, tap dodge. There's nothing too crazy here. Keep an eye though. There are these kind of bullets that show up that can get a little tricky, because those pink arrow bullets only appear kind of a while after they've spawned. Yeah, here you want to avoid the center actually. And yeah, just keep dealing as much damage as possible to get through this. The second phase can be a little tricky because you do have to manage moving between focus and rapid shot, because you've got these overlapping patterns with the blue and purple bullets, and if you mistime things or if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, it can be a little tricky to deal with. You kind of want to, you don't want to be too far away, but you don't want to be too close either. And these turrets on the bottom of the ship, you want to make sure to just take those out, prioritize them, or they will keep harassing you. And then we're in a situation here where we're kind of pinned under a ship. If you move up, you know, you'll be in trouble. So you want to take advantage of Phantom mode here and just deal as much damage as possible to the boss, get through this phase. And so for me, it's actually like I don't have enough energy to kind of follow this all the way through. So what I do is I actually end up bombing and then chasing the boss up so that I can unleash the katanas. If you've died before this boss, you'll have more time to deal with that phase in Phantom mode, which is kind of interesting when you think about it, that there's a slight advantage to missing in this game. So here I'm just generating as much energy as possible, but I don't actually need to use it because I've done enough damage to the boss that they're already toasted. And then we're heading into the final stage. And there's the extend. So 5 lives. Let's see if we can get through this. This stage is a lot of fun. The music also is awesome in this game. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean it's a good final stage. There's a lot going on, but you know, if you're able to manage your resources, you should be fine. Now this is a pretty important section. I like to stay low and just tap dodge along, avoiding the purple bullets. Same here. Use your focus shot, deal as much damage as you can, and just stay in that open zone. And for the last ship here, or the third ship, it's not the last, I go into Phantom mode and I blast through it. Be careful not to be holding your focus shot the whole time, or otherwise you'll generate suicide bullets. Then here I'm earning steel, using it to cancel bullets, and then blasting through the ship. So that way I'm still in Phantom mode when I reach this mini boss, and I can just blast right through them. So that's how I handle that stage. It's really consistent. It makes it easy. Now I'm just trying to generate as much steel as I can. It's worth mentioning, if you have full energy, you generate steel faster. But because you don't need full energy to enter into Phantom mode, you know, it's not totally necessary. Yeah, that was kind of a silly death, actually. I think I don't know, I wasn't just paying attention. This is my first clear of the game. Done on an airplane, actually, back from Japan. I'm playing on Switch, so I was playing in handheld mode. So here again, I'm taking advantage of using my rapid shot in Phantom mode to generate steel and fire that off to cancel bullets, and then using the katanas to do something similar. When in doubt, bomb. And then we're getting close to the end of the stage here. So with these last few enemies, I'm just gonna try to generate as much energy and steel as I can before heading into the boss. Especially steel. Now this boss has two potential opening phases. One of them is really easy and consistent, and then there's this one, which is not. And, you know, when you're at the end of a run like this and you got nerves, just bomb through. It's a cave game, you can just bomb. There's no penalty for bombing. This phase, basically you need to train your eye to be looking not for the tanks, but for the portals that the tanks are going to be coming out of, and destroying them before they even get a chance. If you don't do that, you will be just surrounded by bullets and tanks. Alright, here, I'm going to be using my rapid shot so I can move a little better around this stuff. I think I make a mistake here. Yeah, should have been using my steel and my phantom mode just to cut through that. Got a little greedy. There are lots of nice energy there, so feeling pretty comfortable about this section. And I'm just going to try to generate a little bit more energy. Oh, but I didn't need to use it. So now I'm heading into the final boss with 3 lives, a little bit of energy, 1 bomb. It's looking alright. And if you're down to your last life, the game will actually auto-bomb. So if you're about to get hit and you've got bombs in stock, it will auto-bomb. But that will get rid of all bombs you have in stock. So if you're on your last life and you're fighting for it, use your first 2 bombs. Once you're down to 1 bomb, then you can kind of just let life happen, you know? Yeah, this is a tricky boss. And I just decided to use the resources that I had. I don't know how I dodged some of this stuff. I mean, I didn't dodge that, but... There's some pretty intense patterns here, and... You know... That's the beauty of another... It was actually not too bad of a pattern to dodge, but... I had been grinding this out on an airplane, and I was like, oh, am I going to have to do another run? Is this going to be it? But this final boss is not too bad. There, I'm using the katana to kind of cut a swath through there. And while that's happening, I'm trying to generate energy so that I can enter phantom mode. There you go. So all in all, while this is not as beginner friendly as something like Death Smiles, it's really fun, really addicting, and you know, it's not a super challenging clear. I believe that the other versions of Akai Katana are easier to clear, but this one I just found really fun. So if you're thinking of clearing this game, hopefully this was able to help somehow. And thanks for checking out the video. and let me know if you're going to try and beat this game or if you've already beat it and you've got some other insight to share. Sound off in the comments. All right, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
終止符が打たれ、世界は平和を取り戻した。だが、戦士たちの報われない命によるものだということを忘れてはならない。